The boy drank a big bucket of water. Looking at the dying tiger in front of him, he stepped forward and gave the tiger the last bit of water. Then he held it in his arms, quietly waiting for death to come. They had been adrift for over 100 days. When the boy woke up again, the boat had stopped at a floating island. He couldn't wait to climb off the boat, broke off a plant and started eating. After eating his fill, he walked toward the depths of the island. There were many meerkats by the water. They looked up, watching him curiously. The boy jumped into the puddle without hesitation, happily drinking from the pool. The tiger was also enjoying its food nearby. When the sky grows dark, the meerkats all ran toward the depths of the forest. The boy suddenly woke up at night. He crawled over to take a closer look. Various remains were floating in the pool. It turned out that at night, the lake water would turn into highly corrosive sulfuric acid. The boy casually picked a flower. After pulling apart the petals, there was actually a human tooth inside. He instantly realized the danger. The next morning, the boy loaded food onto the boat. He called out loudly to the tiger. The tiger also came to his side obediently, and so they started drifting again. The hungry tiger jumped into the sea to hunt, but it wasn't good at swimming. The boy found it somewhat amusing, until the tiger turned around and swam toward him. His smile disappeared instantly. Then he scrambled into the boat in a fluster. The tiger tried to get on the boat, but couldn't climb up. At this moment, the boy found an axe. He shouted at the tiger, preparing to attack it, but looking into the tiger's eyes, he couldn't bring himself to do it. Listening to the tiger splashing around, the boy felt very hesitant. He waited until evening, then pushed the raft into the sea, and tossed down a small ladder. He quickly jumped onto the raft as the tiger climbed up. Early the next morning, the boy started moving the food. As he was checking the remaining supplies, a big fish got caught in his trap. He quickly pulled the net tight, then raised the nearby axe and struck hard. Watching the fish gradually lose its original color, the boy finally couldn't help crying. It was his first time taking a life. Then he fed the fish to the tiger. They lived like this for another month. The boat crossed the entire Pacific Ocean. They finally reached the coast. The boy collapsed exhausted on the ground. The tiger also jumped off the boat. It walked into the forest without looking back. A few hours later, the boy was found by villagers. He couldn't help but burst into tears. Do you think beyond the instinct to survive, tigers and humans can be friends? Come share your thoughts. The man was freezing to death, but he took off all his clothes, curled up naked in the snow. His teeth chattered from the cold. He could only blow on his palms, but it did nothing for him. He didn't put his clothes back on. Instead, he looked at the plastic bag in his hand, then stared at the ground, and made a difficult decision. He poured out the flour in the bag, filled it completely with snow, and held it tightly in his arms. By nightfall, the snow hadn't melted at all. Worse still, his clothes were still wet. His pent-up emotions finally erupted. He roared about his misfortune. Just then, he saw a villa on the top of the mountain. The man danced with excitement. To preserve body heat, he had no choice but to put on the wet clothes. Then he hit the big trees to collect dry bark. After doing all this, he fell into a deep sleep. On the morning of the third day, he finally drank fresh water, then checked his phone and radio. Luckily, neither of them had shut down. Everything was ready. The man set off excitedly for the mountaintop. As time passed, his vision began to blur. Hunger swept over his entire body. He walked purely on instinct. When he was almost at the mountaintop, he was completely stunned. There was no sign of the villa at all. It was just an illusion, born out of his despair. Devastated, he stumbled and fell to the ground, losing the will to survive. When he woke up again, it was already the morning of the fourth day. He tried to stand up, but fell again. A sharp pain shot through his right leg. The man rolled up his pants leg and saw his sock covered in blood. Even his calf was purple. He realized he couldn't wait any longer. He had to treat the wound. He gritted his teeth and tore off the sock suddenly. The wound was torn open instantly. Pain spread all over his body. He didn't care about anything else. He tore off a piece of flesh, struggled for a long time, and finally put it in his mouth. After resting for a while, he started walking again. Suddenly, from above, came the roar of a helicopter. Great! It was the search and rescue team. He shouted for help loudly, but the distance was too far. He turned on the radio again, hoping they could pick up the signal, but it was all in vain. He watched the helicopter leave helplessly. In despair, the man seemed to see his mother. If he died like this, what would happen to her mother? Somehow, he held on until the 8th day. He didn't want to wait for death here, so he continued climbing towards the mountaintop. He was almost there, but the next second, he collapsed from exhaustion. He didn't wake up until much later. The radio still had no signal, and it was about to shut down. He didn't scream or shout. Instead, he calmly left his last words and took one final look at the snow-capped mountains. Just as he was about to face death, the radio finally picked up a signal.